Hello, and welcome to another pre-recorded information session, number 3, held by the Piedmont Triad Regional Council Area Agency on Aging. This recording today is focused on a funding opportunity that will open a Congregate Nutrition site in East Greensboro, North Carolina. Need for a Congregate Nutrition site in this area of the county has been identified, and this funding provides an opportunity to address unmet needs of the older adults and caregivers in this area. The PTRC AAA is procuring and allocating these funds by taking a regional approach based on the priorities established by the North Carolina Division of Aging and Adult Services. Service match is not required, and funds will remain available until expended or until September 30th, 2024, whichever comes first. Again, funds for establishing a Congregate Nutrition meal site that will serve people aged 60 years of age and older who are currently unserved or underserved for nutritional needs. Proposals must be reasonable, necessary, and justifiable. Proposals will be scored based on completeness and detailed description of intent to provide services. Priority consideration will be given to proposals that address the needs of older adults who are underserved and underrepresented and part of the East Greensboro area. I will now turn it over to Joe Jugans, who will share the request for application.
Welcome. Hope everyone is well. As Adrian mentioned, the project period for this funding is February 1st, 2022 through September 30th of 2024. All ARPA funds must be obligated by September 30th, 2024. As Adrian also mentioned, the Piedmont Triad Regional Council Area Agency on Aging is making one-time funding available to establish and fund a Congregate Nutrition site in the 27405 zip code area of East Greensboro, North Carolina. This would provide a means to reach an underserved and underrepresented older adult population that would benefit from receiving nutritious meals and Congregate Nutrition Services. The agency awarded the grant funding must meet the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Aging Nutrition Service Standards for Congregate Nutrition Services. Throughout the request for application, which I hope you have in front of you, you will notice that there are a number of items that have a double asterisk in front of them. This pertains to the federal major disaster declaration. And if the federal major disaster declaration ends before a fully executed contract is in place, these flexibilities will be void and not allowed. We do not know when the federal MDD will end. The Division of Aging and Adult Services has told us that we will receive between a 30 to 60-day notice prior to the end of the federal major disaster declaration. And we will make the end of the federal major disaster declaration known to all of our nutrition services providers. Hopefully, the contracts will be in place and we will not have to worry about the ending of the federal MDD. Following on the request for application, the next section is eligible meal requirements. Just to point out that, please note that these congregate meals must meet the dietary guidelines outlined in the nutrition services standards, which include 1/3 of the recommended daily allowance dietary intake requirements. Along with that, there must be menus signed by a licensed nutritionist or dietitian, and a nutrient analysis must be on file for each certified menu. Congregate meals types primarily are hot meals, but may also include frozen, refrigerated, or limited shelf-stable meals. Also, it is important to note in this section that under ARPA Nutrition Services funding, congregate meals may be picked up, may be served via pickup at the Congregate Nutrition site in East Greensboro, as long as the federal major disaster declaration remains in effect. Once the federal major disaster declaration ends, all congregate meals need to be dine-in meals. Following the RFA, you will notice that there is a category for special eligibility for congregate meals that outlines who is eligible for meals who are not 60 years of age or older. And I would just ask that you would note that the special eligibility is a federal decision, and what is listed on the RFA are the only categories in which people may qualify as special eligible. Following that, there is a list of other programmatic requirements for congregate meals and a congregate nutrition site. Please note that a congregate nutrition site service includes but is not limited to food temperature documentation, volunteer training, nutrition education, and programmed activities. ARPA Nutrition Services funding also includes non-unit reimbursement for certain items, including grocery bags and produce bags for congregate meals clients only. Please note that no more than 5% of the ARPA Nutrition Services East Greensboro Congregate Nutrition Site Grant Award will be allowed for non-unit reimbursement items, including grocery bags and produce bags. And also note, an additional 5% of the total of the ARPA Nutrition Services East Greensboro Congregate Nutrition Site Grant Award will be allowed for non-unit reimbursement items directly related to startup expenses, such as staff salary and marketing required to establish a congregate nutrition site. Please also note that there are specific requirements for the East Greensboro Congregate Nutrition Site. All agencies must follow the procedures to open or relocate a congregate nutrition site, including filing with the PTRC Area Agency on Aging the completed form entitled Request to Open or Relocate a Congregate Nutrition Site. Both of these forms will be on the website under this grant, this ARPA grant. No congregate meals will be permitted to be served, and no congregate nutrition site expenses will be reimbursed until a final site inspection is completed by the PTRC Area Agency on Aging using Form Attachment A, Congregate Nutrition Site Review. This form will also be on the website. The East Greensboro Congregate Nutrition Site is expected to begin serving daily congregate meals and offering congregate nutrition programs no later than July 1st, 2022, unless approved otherwise by the PTRC Area Agency on Aging. Following along in the RFA, we next come to reporting and documentation requirements for congregate meals. Just to highlight, a client registration form is required. A special eligibility documentation form is required for those clients who are special eligible. Client assessments and reassessments must be conducted for congregate meal clients according to the Division of Aging Nutrition Services standards. And consumer contributions must be solicited for congregate nutrition and also properly documented. If a meal tracking form is required to be used, and also the distribution of grocery bags and produce bags must be tracked on a specially designed form. And it's important to stress that all ARPA nutrition funds must be accounted for separately in the service provider's accounting records. Cost computation, there are cost computation for requirements for congregate meals, and cost computation forms calculate the unit costs per congregate meal provided. Under reimbursement, please note that ARPA Nutrition Services East Greensboro Congregate Nutrition Site funds are handled through a reimbursement system. Services provided will be reimbursed on a monthly basis through the state's Aging Resource Management System, affectionately called ARMS. Reimbursement is dependent upon accurate reporting of service data. And for all non-unit expenses, there is a special reimbursement form entitled Congregate Non-Unit Reimbursements for ARPA. Moving along on the RFA, please note that these funds will be monitored. Please understand the importance of confidentiality and security, as well as record retention and disposition. Since these are federal funds, there is a link to a schedule provided by the Controller's Office of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, which informs you as to when these grant records may be properly destroyed. It's important to make sure that you are familiar with that schedule. Again, the project period is February 1st, 2022 through September 30th of 2024. And another reminder that if the federal major disaster declaration ends before a fully executed contract is in place, those flexibilities designated in this RFA by double asterisks will be void and not allowed. Following along then on the RFA, there is the next section concerning submitting an application for these funds. Please note the dates in these applications. In this section, the application, 3 copies of the request for application with original signatures must be submitted to the PTRC Area Agency on Aging, 1398 Carrollton Crossing Drive in Kernersville. Attention Gwen Shields by Wednesday, January 26th at 4 p.m. These, just a note that if you are going to postal mail these documents, that they need to arrive at our office by Wednesday, January 26th at 4 p.m. You are welcome to hand deliver the required documents, but please call in advance to ensure that someone will be here to receive your documents. With the pandemic, our work schedules vary from day to day, depending on what the latest variant decides to do. So please call in advance if you're going to hand deliver. All questions must be submitted in writing by Wednesday, January 29th at 4 p.m. to Gwen Shields. Her email is in the RFA. And after such time until projects are awarded, applicants are prohibited from contacting PTRC AAA staff regarding any issue relating to these funds or the application process. PTRC AAA reserves the right to reject any or all applications, waive technicalities, and to be the sole judge of suitability of the services for their intended use, and furtherly specifically reserves the right to make the award in the best interest of the PTRC AAA regional program. Following is a timeline with the dates, starting with the announcement of funding availability, a link to this pre-recorded information session, and then the final day to submit questions, Wednesday, January 19th. Applications due Wednesday, January 26th at 4 p.m. And contracts will be awarded no later than mid-February following PTRC board approval. As far as evaluation, there will be a scoring tool available on the PTR website under the specific nutrition services links. Available funding for nutrition services, East Greensboro Congregate Nutrition Site Funds is $150,000. Following this is the actual request for application. Please note that there are several items required of a tax ID number, a valid DUNS number, and also agencies are asked to submit one copy of your organization's most recent financial statements, audited or unaudited. If organizations submit unaudited financial statements, a completed state grant certification and sworn statement, and a completed schedule of receipts and expenditures are also required. And these must be submitted with, one copy of these must be submitted with your 3 copies of the request for application. There are 5 questions that we ask you to answer. The word count is not limited, so please make sure your answers contain the required and asked for information. Following the questions is a RFA budget form. There are examples at the top of the form as to what information is being asked for. And at this point, I want to stress that be sure to include all items that you would want to be considered for reimbursement on this RFA budget. It is important that all those items are on this RFA budget, because upon award of the grant, an official budget will be completed using the required cost computation forms. And the cost computation forms that you submit at that time will be checked to ensure that the items on those forms match the items in the RFA budget. Again, a reminder that no more than 5% of the total of the grant award will be allowed for non-unit reimbursement items, including grocery bags and produce bags. And an additional 5% of the total grant award will be allowed for non-unit reimbursement items directly related to startup expenses, such as staff salary and marketing for to establish the East Greensboro Congregate Nutrition site. And if you notice in the budget, there is a line item for you to itemize startup costs. And it's important that you list those out. So if it's staff, if it's marketing, if it's a piece of equipment that needs to be leased, those need to be listed under the line item for startup costs. Finally, there is the American Rescue Plan Act bid certification statement. Please read that carefully. And then the final item is the execution of the RFA. Please be sure to include your name, the authorized signature, title, and date. When I say your name, I mean the name of the person authorized to sign the form. Again, there will be the forms and everything related to the RFA will be posted on the PTRC website under ARPA Nutrition Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. That was a lot of detailed information. I do hope you all take time to go through that RFA once again. Please take note of the different timelines that are listed in each of the RFAs because it will vary by mini grants. Thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you.